If you're a person who believes in freedom of speech, you have to fight and say what you feel and let the chips fall where they may.
Whatever you want and then face some sort of repercussions for it later.
Nice fun, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
Kansas has possibly the weakest open records law in the country.
Retaliatory animus, had it not been for that negative feeling towards speech, they would have not done that.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
Wishing you could see things was my way. When it all gets ripped away. I know the smell of napalm in the morning. I can't hide the pain it brings so far away. Sometimes it gives hard to breathe when it's thrown up in my face.
At you, and I want to welcome everybody in. Got the doc here today.
Yep, I like how on the intro there it says you play with fire, you might get burned. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about here with Jill Gillett there. She's got burned, and the burning is going to continue here if we go over this stuff here.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to see it that way, so we'll just go ahead and put it back up on the screen here. This is the motion that she filed here. And skip up here to page 3, and you can see it's a injunction protection from stalking, sexual assault, human trafficking order. Miss Gillett did this pro se. As you can see here, it says myself. She seeks it for herself, and she's the plaintiff here. But you guys, I've seen a little bit of this video now. The arguments in court were laughable. I mean,
well, it was a train wreck. Her arguments were laughable, but on the opposite side of that, Michael here had the law on his side. He had the statute on his side, and that's what makes it all so damn laughable. Is that she had no argument because she was outside of the law. She had nothing for a case, and she got completely exposed in so many different ways with her lack of any kind of evidence, and it resulted in just straight up lies on her part.
Yep. And since we talked about ducks, and we really made a big deal about wanting to get this duck story out there. And here's the interesting thing about the ducks, guys. When I first asked about the ducks, I asked Jill about this. All I had heard was, hey, you might ask about this incident that supposedly happened where she supposedly had a duck at her house, and police were called to retrieve the duck. Let me make this big so you can. Oh boy, we're having a problem getting that big, aren't we? Guys in the chat, give me a thumbs up if you guys can read this okay. Are you able to see this document okay? But if you look here, not seeing anybody talking here, but right here at incident 3, Jill decides to say that she's entitled to protection from intrusion into her personal life. Now, what she's claiming is that I have somehow solicited information from people near her. Apparently, she lives in Fredonia, and she claimed that I had talked to police officers. I don't know if she thinks I already have the police report or not, but to be quite honest, and you can vouch for this, man, I knew really nothing about the ducks other than what people had told me. I was just asking questions,
Yeah.
And you didn't even really know about the ducks that much.
I still know nothing about the ducks.
People were telling me about the ducks and not the doc here, but it's just kind of funny that she had attached that. But instead of leaving that alone, what she decided to do is use this duck thing to try to gain some sympathy. And she goes, I have several rescues that I've adopted from places and people. I have lots of knowledge. She's got a bachelor pad for abandoned drakes. I love that one. Apparently, and this is an assumption she's made in this filing, apparently Mr. Irvier's associates have contacted someone from the Fredonia area to try to gain personal information. Nothing could be further from the truth. I didn't have to reach out to anybody. People were sending me this stuff, hoping to get it on the news. But she claims I was yelling questions about a baby duck. And a lot of you guys can probably remember that incident when I got a lot of questions about your duck, Jill. Did you kidnap a duck? So now she goes into detail this. A duckling was found and brought to a lady in Fredonia, Kansas. The boy who came to visit the family claims to have found the duckling. And she goes into this detail about how she has a full brooder set up for small bird care. She incubates eggs, all this, hatch chicks, quail, and all this. Therefore, I was contacted by a friend. Now, mind you guys, I knew nothing about any of this. She put this in her filing. And this is just the beginning of the ineptitude of this woman. We'll get into the way she argued in court here in just a moment. But she details out that she was given this duckling to care for, et cetera, and that the little boy who found it was a neighbor to the family that owned the duckling, and it was returned without issue, is what she says in this filing. I think what we found out in court was a little bit different. Apparently, police came to the door that this actually happened, folks. So all those people that had heard that police were actually at her door to get this duck, that in fact did happen. It came out of Gillette's own mouth on the stand. Now, apparently at this time, her ex-husband now, this Mr. Gillett, who was an attorney, apparently he was having some sort of a dementia episode and he was screaming and yelling. And I don't know how this interacted with the police, but she claimed that he was screaming and yelling at her. And reading that, I was kind of thinking, she claimed that I was screaming and yelling at her too. I wonder if he was actually screaming and yelling at her, or if he was just, hey, Jill, the cops are here. You going to come down and talk to them?
Yeah. Yep, she lies a lot.
Yeah. But in any case, that's about what she puts into the report. But in the court hearing, she goes on to detail this back and forth and how she is well known in the area, and she takes in rescues from the Wildlife Association and all this. And by the end of the hearing, the judge even said on the stand, geez, I think we've covered the ducks enough.
And I missed out on hearing that from her because I was a dang witness, so I had to wait outside the courtroom both the days that we were up there until it was time for me to go in there. So I missed her going on about all of that.
Well, and unfortunately, you were one of the last witnesses called. You were the last, right before me. You were one of the last witnesses called.
Yeah.
And they had sequestered witnesses so that they wouldn't hear the testimony that was going on. And now it didn't really matter though, because she straight up lied. She perjured herself. This is
she had no case.
This is the reality.
We'll get into that here. This whole thing hinges on, at the beginning of that duck write-up right there, it talks about trying to gain personal information.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was trying to frame this as, personal stuff. And the issue though is that she's a public, she's an elected official, she's a public figure. And so all of this stuff is within the bounds. So the statute on stalking specifically says when you're have a legitimate purpose and it's constitutionally protected activity, meaning free speech and freedom of press, and frankly, just to talk to your elected officials, that doesn't apply in stalking. So she was trying to make everything sound like she was either above it, outside it, or that what Michael was doing was more personal than private.
Right.
And it was all just complete bullshit. And then on top of that, she just heaped these lies. And she's trying to say that this duck story, that's personal. You can't talk about that.
Well, and if that's the case, then Matt Gaetz and this sex for money thing should have been personal, and it shouldn't have been able to be talked about. But as we saw today, he's withdrawn his nomination to be Attorney General, I'm assuming because of some of that press. But there's an example of the press and doing the work, even though that work may be distasteful to some. You know, and that's the thing about the First Amendment. It's there to protect the right to speak those words that may be distasteful. But, you know, you mentioned legitimate purpose. I want to give a little bit of legitimate purpose here, because that's really where this goes, and where the problem was for Jill is she had no argument against the legitimate purpose of the reason that we were there.
Well, so the legitimate purpose is kind of two different areas. And first is that all this is done right there at the courthouse, at the county courthouse in Elk County, or done through her public emails.
Yep.
And then on top of that legitimate purpose, the questions that we're asking her, the questions that Michael's asking her about the duck, about the charges, which is we'll get into here in a second,
right,
that all is under the umbrella of being a reporter and for the press.
Not only
on
that,
top of
but the
citizen
citizen's right
can ask that as well. So it's like a 3-layer thing, and she couldn't get through any of them because she didn't have the law on her side. And it was a fucking train wreck. When I got back in there, and what I could see was a fucking train wreck. Her cross-examination questions lacked any kind of depth, anything at all, because she had nothing. She had no argument. She got completely destroyed. Michael used our attorney, Linus Baker, here, and Linus just destroyed her left and right, to the point where she didn't get a single victory that entire time. There was 9 things that she filed, and she didn't get a single one of them because they were all within the law. And
actually, what I want to say here is that when she filed these papers, she actually filed an original 10 counts, but this highly detailed report here had number 5 repeated. So there's actually 10 on this first one. And then when we got to court on the first day, she decided to try to add
another one in there.
November 6th, when we went down to Robert Walker's trial, which didn't happen that day because Jill's sister had died, which again, she threw that in there quite a bit, trying to garner sympathy about her sister dying at this PFA hearing, which really had no relevance to anything as far as protection orders.
Yeah.
But that day, there was we can explain it. We walked in there, and at the time, this is before the trial was beginning, and we were in the hallway outside, and one of the deputies had come up to Justin and said, "Hey, you can't film in here." And we knew we could film in that hallway, but this was the first day of Robert Walker's trial.
The doors were open to the courtroom. The courtroom was packed.
We didn't want to make a scene. So Justin handed his camera to me, and I walked down he says, "Hand it and go out there and record, just keep recording." So I walk out towards the stairwell, and there's light coming through the window. So I can't see who's there. I just see figures, but apparently it was Jill Gillett standing there, which I saw as I got there and stood around. And I accidentally dropped my phone while I was trying to hold Justin's, and she tried to use that as me somehow trying to terrorize her. Like I would intentionally throw a $1,000 phone on the floor just to fuck with Jill.
Was it my phone that you dropped?
No, it was mine.
Oh, your phone.
Right. But I mean, this is the idiocy of what she tried to claim with that. And I just want to, there's a fellow down there named Pork Chops, and he know who he is, and other people down there in Elk County know who he is. I'm not a big fan of law enforcement, and you guys ain't my friend, but I want to thank him for actually being honest on the stand, because when he was asked whether he had perceived any kind of a threat during that hallway interchange, he said no. And he could have sat there and backed Jill up
Yeah, well, it would have been a lie because dropping your phone ain't no fucking threat, you know. So,
Well, he could have misconstrued
Yeah,
it
it
as,
would've been a lie.
well, it was a loud noise, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And she could have felt threatened.
Sure.
I mean, he could have said all that. He simply said, no, I
knew.
didn't perceive a threat.
Yeah, he knew it was
And
true.
so I want to thank him for his honesty
Yeah.
because that was important in this.
And that whole incident there on the 6th, it was the 6th, right?
Yeah.
It was the 6th. We had when we went up there for the hearing, I also wanted to ask if I had one of these PFAs filed against me as well, and I just hadn't been served. So we were actually up there in that hallway because across from the courtroom is the district, the court clerk's office there, and so I went up there to ask, do I have one of these PFAs on me? And turns out I didn't. And so that's an interesting part of this case that Jill tried to bring as well. Is keep in mind as we show this footage, me and Michael are there both days, 3 days actually that she alleges.
But just
you'll see her lies. Yeah, you'll see her lies that even the stuff she says that Michael was doing, he wasn't doing, but he wasn't even talking, and I was talking, and I didn't get any kind of PFA.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't send her. I've never sent her any emails, but other than that, but the emails were fine. Obviously, they were fine. But that was the difference. I didn't send any emails, I guess, but everything else, I was right there with Michael.
Well, and she tried to make a huge deal about the emails, and the problem for the emails is they were communications to a public official regarding public official matters that were relevant to her duties.
And oftentimes she was CC'd on it.
Exactly.
The other commissioners, the fucking like other people.
Guys, she actually had the nerve. Let's get that one picture up here because she actually had the nerve to submit a CORA request. Yeah, here it is, right here. This is a Kansas Open Record Act request that you can see on your screen here. She's actually submitting this as Exhibit B. As a method of my harassment toward her, because I'm submitting an open this is the audacity and the idiocy of this woman. She would actually think that she could use an open record request and say, you have no legitimate purpose with this. Because in order to meet the statute for the protection order, she had to show that not only did this not have a legitimate purpose, bereft of all legitimate purpose, she then had to show that the actions caused severe emotional distress. Substantial emotional distress.
Yep.
And that was hammered home.
High bars that require evidence, and she had no evidence.
None.
And so she had to started lying. And got caught in the lie,
Right.
Because another lesson in all this, hope everyone takes away, is record everything. We had everything recorded. It disputed everything she said to the point where these were just straight up fucking lies, completely exposed her as a liar to try and bring him down, to try and the relief she was seeking was just outrageous as well. I mean, if she was trying to bring him down and the punishment imposed on him, he wouldn't have been able to go to the courthouse.
Right.
He wouldn't have been able to go to the commission meetings. He wouldn't have been able to ask Jill anything about any charges or anything ever again. Nope. It was a PFA.
And I wouldn't even be able to send her an email. I mean, any contact.
No
I would
contact.
have been, yeah.
Yep.
The
it was
district
all based
attorney.
on lies. It's all based on lies.
But here's the thing. She had all these different counts in this thing that she's alleging. But the reality of what her problem was the fact that she doesn't like being made fun of.
Yeah.
She doesn't like being embarrassed by her bullshit. And if any of you out there have the time to pay attention to the 13th Judicial District feed, and if somebody in the chat can put up the 13th Judicial District feed link, if you guys can pay attention to that and catch Jill and just pay attention to her, and let's start catching her in her bullshit, because we're going to start submitting ODA complaints on her because she is literally lying in court. You saw the video that I put up the other day where the man was in there and he's done all the things. He's cleared up all the charges, but he's been he's sitting incarcerated in Missouri and misses a court date. And she decides he needs a $40,000 bond just because throughout his history, he'd had charges everywhere. I mean, that's her thing. She throws her hands up and says, Your Honor, he's a criminal. And that's supposed to get the person convicted. And that's what she's relied on.
Well, I think it's worth dunking on her one more time. So what she got all butthurt about was that at Robert Walker's last pretrial hearing, she had a 7-day deadline to submit the It was the particulars, right?
Bill of particulars. That's right.
Otherwise, the first charge and essentially the case charge was the disorderly conduct would be dropped. And she missed the deadline, didn't submit it, and the judge is like, even being, I think it was 5 days, but he's like, even being generous and giving you the 7 full days of a week, you still missed it. And so that charge was dropped, and it's inexplicable. As the county prosecutor in your big case right there, something as so simple as filing something before a deadline. Otherwise, you lose that main charge. And that charge went out the window. And so that night, me and Michael did a live stream, basically just like we were doing right there, just dunking on her dumb fucking ass.
And dunking on her is just as easy as telling you what happened.
Yeah, I don't even have to like say, oh, you can just hear that on face value and be like, what? Why would she miss the fucking deadline? And so she got all fucking butthurt about that. And 2 days later, a day and a half later, Michael gets she files that PFA on Michael.
And that's exactly what this was, because she comes in all of a sudden. She didn't like us laughing. So a couple days later, she files that PFA on November 1st. Like we said earlier, I think we both agree that she probably would have been better off hiring a legal assistant than she was a security person. So I'm going to go ahead and use this.
Oh my God. It's from that Gillett, isn't that some shit? County.
This is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, she's still full of shit. Oh, this is going to be fun. So that's
Michael, you can see the future. That was pretty fun, wasn't it?
There's no court orders or anything. It's just an order for a hearing.
Glorious.
I mean, she thought she was going to scare somebody with this filing, and I knew when I got it that there's nothing I had done wrong, and that she had no case.
Well, you'll see in the videos there, and which was part of the evidence of these 2 incidents, is that I'm telling her like, you're going to file stalking on us, because even at that fucking point, she had already threatened us that on that first incident, that if we didn't stop talking to her, that she was going to get us with stalking. I'm like, stalking? Are you fucking crazy? I'm not even an attorney, and I know that that there's no way that anything we were doing would have been stalking. So it was laughable.
Yep.
And so we're asking her about, hey, is this fucking stalking, Jill? Like what we're doing right now, asking you up the hallway, up the stairs, is this stalking? No, because there has to be a specific things that it meets,
right,
and specific things that fall outside of it. But it's like she's not even an amateur. I mean, how do you not know that?
Well,
shit?
she couldn't.
Beyond me.
She couldn't achieve the criminal statute, so the workaround was to file this protection order that I would have to travel down there and defend and spend the money to take care of. But as I've warned this woman time and time and time again through some of these emails, and I'm going to make the screen big. She says she doesn't watch, but I'm telling you, I bet she does, because she's too egotistical not to.
She's too curiosity to get the best of her.
Jill, you stupid bitch out there, I know you're listening, and I told you, I warned you over and over. We're not those indigent little useless people, or I shouldn't say indigent rural people that don't have jobs, that can't afford a lawyer. We're not people you want to screw around with.
Yeah, she thought it'd be a
exactly
on her part.
She thought she could just file this and scare me.
We roll up there with the law on our side and an awesome attorney, and the truth on our side and video on our side, and it wasn't even close. She got fucking just smacked around in there, over and over again.
Let's take a look at incident 1 here real quick. Let's get this back up here to this. You saw on July 29th that she's alleging that I followed her from her office down. That's down here at the bottom of this page. It continues on the next page here, and she goes into great detail about how I follow her down to her car, that I didn't stop by the courtroom, and there's no reason to follow her to her car outside the courthouse, nor put her vehicle on live stream media. She made a big deal about the fact that I showed her car and her license tag and this and that, that's out in public. Okay, it's out in public. This prosecutor is literally arguing in court that I can't film something out in public. But it gets worse than that, guys. Beyond the written word here, what she put in this report, she literally claims that I stood at the back of her car and prevented her from being able to back out, that she had to wait until I moved to be able to back out, and that I was peering inside her car with my camera. And she she laid out this great detail of all these things that I had done. And
it's funny. I was up on the stand there as a witness, and Linus was asking me questions, and he said, and he showed this video here of it, and he said, Jill testified that Michael was blocking her car and looking in her window. And I was like, she said that? And he's like, yeah. I was like, nothing could be further from the truth on that. Look at the video. I mean, it's a complete fucking lie.
And this is what we're looking at here, guys. We followed her. Excuse me. We followed her out.
What exactly are you investigating?
Asking her what we'd be in charge with, because this is the
tell us
point
if we're
where
charged, or is
we
this
had been
just
told
a,
that we would be in
criminal
charge
trial
with a
that
crime
happens without any
because
kind of
we
oversight
had
or you just rule it yourself?
the county clerks and stuff.
No comment.
So she's walking out the door here. Now, mind you, that we're asking her questions, and she thinks, she alleges this, that when she says no comment, that I'm not allowed to ask any more questions, that it should just cease.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the part that she says where I followed her all the way to her car.
Judging from what
peered in
we're
her
hearing,
window,
it does seem that that's the case.
and prevented her from backing out.
That was her testimony.
That was her direct testimony.
On the stand, sworn oath, she testified that Michael
You want to share it with us?
prevented her from backing out, was blocking the back side of her car and peering into her window.
Mhm.
And so this is the footage of this instance. There she is walking off.
So is Jill going to the sheriff's department?
Michael thinks she's going to the sheriff's department, so he's maybe going to see what's going on there, but sees that she's going in her car and
Looks like she's probably just going to leave.
stops right there. Just stops. And her testimony is that he was
There's
blocking.
nothing.
Now, right now, I'm supposed to be up there at her car, preventing her from backing up. That is her testimony, that at this point, the reason she can't back up is because I'm
the
standing
system
too
with our
close to
name
her
on it,
car.
huh?
So Michael's probably 50, and there's nothing away from that.
Nothing in the
This was
system.
so bad. He had to call herself back up there and be like, "Oh, Your Honor, I misremembered. It turns out it was that truck that drove by that was preventing me. I thought it was him, but it was that truck."
Man, is that Watts?
And because she knew she fucking lied.
Is that Watts?
No, we turned away. We don't even. We're no longer concerned at all.
Yep.
She
Now,
drives
hold
by.
on.
We don't even see her. fucking
Now,
license
if
plate.
anybody can catch her tag here, let me know. Put her tag
She's
in the
not going to
chat
tell us
if
what
you
we're
can
charged
catch her
with,
tag
but
going by,
only that
because
she
made
can't
a
discuss an
huge
ongoing
deal about
investigation.
the fact that I put her
They
tag
do
on
this
the
to their
internet.
citizens
People
down
can
here,
come
thinking
find
that
me
it's
in
some
her-
way to keep control of them, and we're going to end that practice, Jill.
Trying to do that as well.
You're not going to be threatening arrest and threatening charges on people
We were
to
more
gain
interested in these
compliance
guys over
and
here
gain
'cause they
control
were
over your
fucking
citizens.
Right.
So they shouldn't have been doing that. Can you go back to the ruling that you had up there just before, or not the ruling, the motion?
The motion?
Yeah. That so it says, there's
me get
no
it back
reason
up
to
here.
approach. Okay. There's no reason to approach me outside the courthouse. No, put my vehicle on the live stream. And then that next sentence says, the commission. Is it up there?
Yeah, it's up on the
Okay,
screen. I'm
the-
having a hard time getting it to the right spot for
All
us.
The commissioner, I can't say it. The commissioners and sheriff asked that I leave the courthouse for my own protection, as they fear that these individuals could harm me as I was leaving the meeting, or if I stayed longer at the courthouse. Now, just think of that lack of logic on her part. So she's in grave fucking danger to the point where she's going to file stalking charges because of this substantial emotional distress. And the solution then was for her to leave the courthouse by herself,
Right.
walk away from the law enforcement, and
Out of her secured office.
out of her secured office, but walking by herself. Like, she doesn't have anybody else around her. So they suggested you leave by yourself.
Mhm.
And then it turns out that, she had testified in another in Robert's hearing that she was the chief law enforcement officer there in Elk County. So turns out she actually carries a fucking gun as a chief law enforcement officer. So she's packing.
Yeah.
She's packing right there, and she's got one in the chamber as well at all times. I think she's what she's reportedly saying.
I don't want to get too far away from the gun without mentioning a couple things here. Number one, she's got a Glock 43 tucked under her tit. And then she's taking anxiety medications.
Mhm.
The woman is on a psychotropic or psychoactive drugs, and she's walking around armed, acting this unstable in court, and she considers me a threat. I literally said in open court that when I found out she had a gun, I was like, everybody has a gun here but me, and I'm the threat. How's that working?
Right. Yeah. She testified all that. But there couldn't have been a safer place for her inside that courthouse, because remember the commission meeting was going on. So
Mhm.
there's sheriff's deputies, armed sheriff's deputies in there in her locked office. But also, so we're supposed to believe that they all said, "Hey, the safest thing for you to do is walk out by yourself." She's not even accompanied by anybody. It's clearly obvious that
There's no fear.
There's no fear at all, but substantial. That's the key. There's substantial fear.
Substantial
And on top of all that,
emotional distress.
And on
not
top of all
just
that,
fear.
what me and Michael are doing there is protected activity. It's constitutionally protected activity. So even if she
100%.
had all that fucking distress, whatever,
Yep.
We're still protected. So
what I'm going to do here now, the second allegation that she made is this September 9th thing. And this is when she was at the commission meeting. And this is when I was asking her about the duck. Now, I'm not going to go back and replay it all, but at that commission meeting, she made a big deal about me disrespecting her when she turned around and tried to shut me down when I was speaking during their open public comment period on the item that they had. But in effect, what she was doing was committing a crime of interference with public duties in a public place because she was interfering with that meeting. So that 215922, everybody keeps threatening on us for being disturbance at a meeting, for standing along a wall and shit. Hell, she was standing there arguing with me, telling me to shut up, and it was her meeting.
And she was trying to get me on the stand with that too. And I was like, no, it actually sounds like that by the way you described the rules of that meeting, that you were disrupting.
Exactly.
Because you're not a part of that fucking meeting. You're not one of those commissioners. You're the county fucking prosecutor. You don't just get to go in there and start talking whenever you want. It's not your fucking meeting, as she claims. She says, this is our meeting. It's like, okay, lady.
Let's take a look at this.
Jill doesn't want to hear it.
You opened it for comment. I had something I wanted to say as well. They already voted.
He opened it for comment out here.
They voted.
Do you guys have any other questions?
I do. I'd like to know about that duck.
Thank you.
Did you kidnap a duck?
You didn't like
Jill?
that.
I hear you kidnapped a duck and threw a fit inside your house when the police came to get it back for the owner. Is that true?
Yeah, because you need to understand right now, she testifies on the stand under oath, sworn testimony, that as she walks up this stair, to her office, turns and comes up the other stairs, that I am yelling and screaming obscenities to her. That's her direct testimony on the stand.
And she says it in the filing as well.
Yeah.
In the filing, she says specifically that Michael was screaming. And so we played this at the hearing yesterday. I'm up on the stand and I get asked about it, but you
just check this out. Yeah. I'm yelling and screaming, but watch.
Jill, is this stalking? Did you know that the stalking statute says that it doesn't apply when you're conducting official business, especially when the public if you were trying to charge us with some bullshit charges? Asking you about it, he said.
Who'd you hear there?
Yeah, so not only was Michael not screaming, like he didn't say a word. It was me the whole time, and I was talking just normal, ask questions like I am right now. But she maintains that Michael was screaming at her, and that put her in right now, according to her, she is in such substantial emotional distress from Michael screaming at her right then and there. When the reality of nothing could be further from the truth is that he was silent. He was fucking silent, but yet she's got emotional distress now.
Right.
And I didn't get the PFA. I didn't get anything PFA on me, so she didn't have a problem with the questions I was asking her. So where's her emotional distress coming from?
Yep.
And she lied about that on the stand.
Now, another thing that she asked the doc on the stand is right here at this point. You're fading off the side. Right here at this point, she makes a big issue about Mr. Spees, and she always calls him Mr. because she can't acknowledge that he's a doctor. Even though it was entered into the court record, she said, well, I haven't seen it.
I still corrected her.
Says doctors. But she says, Mr. Spees, isn't it true that Michael is always in front of you?
Yeah. I was like, what an odd question. I'm like, I was like, that's so weird to ask. Like, I don't think so. I mean, we kind of just walk wherever. And he's never.
But that was to make me more of a threat because I'm the one in the front.
Right.
Right.
Well, one of her defenses is that, well, Michael's so dang tall. So, I mean, at that point, Michael will always lose if that's the standard. Oh, you're tall. I'm short. Oh, I'm scared.
Well,
like, oh, what the fuck's he supposed to do about that?
I really like the counter argument there, and she's really lucky that we didn't get there because the counter argument to that, Jill, is you probably weigh more than I do.
Yeah. Pound for pound, actually, Michael is the one that
and you're packing heat. You're packing heat.
And
you're worried about me.
You're a very angry lady too. You're very angry. So all those things, like Michael should file. You should file PFA on her with all that stuff there. So you should do.
Okay, now we're going to get to another lie and a little bit more detailed information that she entered into the record here, and you're going to find out how crappy of an attorney this woman really is. I was going through stuff this afternoon, and I realized how big of a screw up she is by doing this. What she does here is she claims, and this is the part where the whole door yanking thing is. And I think if we go back here real quick to the filing, she talks about at the stairs. Here it is. All of this was captured on camera. There is no evidence of me holding the door shut. He just lunged and flung it so hard and pulled it out of my hand, hit the wall so loudly. Now, in court, she claims that her hand was hurt somehow, that she, for 3 days afterwards, she had pain in her hand. Now, let's watch this real quick.
Flaunting your laws, huh? Don't pull the door on me, you dumb bitch. Don't pull the door on me.
Okay. Now, she claimed in open court that she had severe pain in her hand after that for 3 days. And then right after, immediately after she says that she was in severe pain from that for 3 days, she begins to detail her lifelong chronic issues with her hand and carpal tunnel and the pain that she's in constantly. And so what attorney does that? What attorney alleges that I've harmed them somehow and caused them pain, and then turns right around and says, well, I've actually had lifelong pain in that hand?
Right. And where's the battery charge, bitch? It's so bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
So bullshit. And
let's talk about the battery. We didn't even mention that. What she says on the stand is she says that she's actually talked to 2 other prosecutors down there, and that one of them is contemplating filing a battery charge on me.
Right, but that goes out the window with this ruling, because the judge up there, part of his ruling was like, no, nobody lunged, it didn't get flung out of there. Those doors open up pretty dang easily. But she was asking Michael up on the stand. She's like, did you see me holding my hand like this afterwards? Michael's like, no. And she's like, you didn't see me doing this? And Lennis objects, like, asked and answered. She was like trying to just be like, you didn't let. Well, and if you look at it, she's like using her hand to open the door.
Exactly.
She's not fucking doing shit.
Exactly. Let's take a look at this, because when she walks in her office, she's actually using that hand to close the door. And
3 days. We're
going to go back to
3 days worth of pain right here. And in the moment she's able to push open the fucking door,
right,
to her office.
And see, in court, Lennis actually played yoga, which showed me and all this.
Flaunting your laws, huh? Don't
But
pull the
watch
door
here,
on me.
she's using that same hand she was using the
Pushing
door
it
with.
open.
Shut the door.
You call me a
Not only did we
dumb bitch. I'll call you whatever I want.
saw you pushing the fucking
Well,
door open.
this crap right
More
here,
lies and
this
shit.
crap right here is no more different than that stuff that she's propagating on Robert Walker's case when they come in and they claim that Watts was in all this pain.
Same thing.
So much so that he missed his filing deadline for work comp and got
All
denied.
bullshit.
And then we find out that he's got all kinds of pre-existing conditions, just like Jill Gillett.
It's all bullshit.
It's all
Jill
bullshit.
Gillette's credibility went out the window. I mean,
Gone.
it was already gone, but it officially in the public there went out the window at the hearing on Monday and Wednesday. It was ended up being 2 days.
It's absolutely insane that she would go in with these kind of arguments
and just straight up lies. And I don't know if you were going to go over that next sentence, but it said that the door hit so loud that Deputy Joe Love left the commission meeting and came upstairs.
Another
lie.
very good point. She says that here, that Joe Love came up right away after that.
And that's a lie. In the video footage, it's like nothing could be further from the truth. Like literally nothing could be further from the truth. She lied about it. Joe didn't just come walking up there because it was so loud. Michael and I went down there. Like as soon as that door hit, we're like, oh, what the fuck, man? That was fucking crazy. That was fucked up.
And we'll show Jill here since she's watching this stuff happen.
Well, but so as soon as the door closed,
Or charge or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to show it.
So
the door closed, and me and Michael were like, I think you just pause it. We're like, well, let's fucking go let somebody know that was pretty dang loud, and they're gonna try and fucking pin something on us, and that's what ended up happening. But we went downstairs and we first let Carrie know here, who's the county clerk, and so that wouldn't have been good enough. So we just turned around and Joe Love is standing out there. He's like, we tell him what happened. He's like, oh, that's what that noise was.
Right.
He hadn't gone upstairs. The noise wasn't so loud that it caused him to go up there. And Jill testified that that's what had happened. It was another fucking lie on the stand.
And we
bust out the video And it's like, so he went up there, and she's like, got a back.
And then the next thing that she does is she backtracks this one, and she says, "Well, I was just relying on what Deputy Love had told me. So, was Deputy Love lying, or Jill, are you lying?
Yeah,
who's lying?
Who's lying there? Somebody's lying. Somebody's lying." And so part of what we were reporting there to Joe there is we wanted to file charges on her because
The same
part
that
of the
she's
reason why we
interfering.
were up there with our legitimate business is we were asking about these charges that her and or that Joe Love said had been filed on me and Michael and sent over to Jill Gillett there for interfering with public business. And on top of that, they were trying to charge 2 other people down there, John and Nicole, with interfering with public business simply for speaking to someone while they were trying to conduct business. And so we said, well, we're going to apply your logic and your standard. If speaking to someone interrupts public business, then certainly holding the fucking door closed and preventing somebody from going to public areas.
That's an obvious interference.
Joe's like, oh, it's a good point. And so we show him the footage, and he takes down the report. He's going to file a criminal charge against her. But Jill testifies that, oh, no. Joe there, in his investigative duty was so alarmed by that loud noise it caused him to go up there.
Now, right away. Now, look at this.
Look
Look at this time, guys. We're talking about a lot of time here because when we were upstairs and we were getting ready to come down, it's right here. We're at 107.
Yeah.
We're now at 109.53. We're 3 minutes later.
Standing there with his hands in his pockets.
We're 3 minutes later here. I think it's going to go to 4 or 5 minutes before he even goes up there. But according to Jill, it was right away.
And the only reason that he goes up there, you'll see in the video, is that we say, well, we'll show you the wall. It hit the wall. So we go up there to show him that. I mean, we take him up there. We're not like running like, oh, something bad happened. We're out of here. No, we're like, Joe, come up here. Look what fucking happened. This is part of the charge we want to have on Jill.
And guys, this is important because what we've seen time and time again, and why I ask everybody to start watching the 13th Judicial District feed is because what we're seeing in this judicial district is that people like Jill Gillett will go in there and state things as fact.
That are lies.
Mm-hmm. And the only way that they can be proven as lies is when you show the video. And here's the problem. Most of the video that they're going to use to try to convict you has been curated by the records custodian to remove the parts that are going to help you and only put in the parts that are going to hurt you most times. And that's if you get the discovery on time at all. I've heard so many issues down there, and even Robert Walker has issues with getting the discovery on Watts. They withhold things, and then they shape their narrative, just like they did in court against that guy the other day that I showed you guys, where they got him a $40,000 bond after he had been doing all the right things to clean everything up. That's insanity, and that's not a criminal justice system that's trying to reform. That's one that's trying to make money off people. Where are we at here in this time? Hell, we're at a minute. We're at a 111 now, so that's been 4 minutes, almost 5, and he's still taking down notes.
And the other thing about this is that, they're supposedly on alert that me and Michael there are some kind of threat or danger to her, and had suggested, a while ago in that other video that Jill should, not be around there. But Joe Love saw us leave the meeting. So when we left that commission meeting, Jill Gillett pats him on the shoulder. That's what you see. She pats him on the shoulder. So he knows that we're following her up there. There's been this loud noise, and he's not like, I should go see if something happened to Jill. He still isn't even alarmed that Jill might be laying up there. It doesn't even cross his mind because we're not a fucking threat to her.
In his defense, I mean, look at him. He needs a damn good reason to go up those stairs.
Yeah, he probably put that went out there and then fell the stairs and thought twice. Like, I'm sure
he needs a damn good reason to tackle
I'll take
those
the elevator. But yeah, he's just milling about down here.
Yeah.
He's just walking.
Where are we at now? We're at 1:12. That's been almost. We're working on 6 minutes now, guys.
So those are 2 lies there that Jill told and perjured herself on because she was on the stand, but also in her filing as well is what she was saying.
100%.
Well, actually, that's the third lie because the screaming in the hallway up the stairs, it was a lie.
Yep. So let's go on to the next page here.
Hard to keep track of how many there's been. So
exactly.
Three big ones.
Now this is incident 3, and this is talking about the duck. We kind of already covered that one, but if we come down here low, you'll see incident 4 on September 26th. There was an email threatening to pry into my career for the rest of my life. See Exhibit A. Let's go down and take a look at Exhibit A that she put in here. Miss Gillett, you continue to make veiled threats of charges against myself and my associates. That is the reason you will continue to be a feature segment for us. And it honestly is. I told you this. Your own immoral and unethical actions and statements on the record are the reasons. If you're going to bring a charge, fucking file it. And otherwise, you best be discontinuing your bitch-like behavior. And then I put down here, I said, we didn't know anybody in Elk County 3 months ago. You showed the world exactly who you are. We didn't have to do any research on you. You showed us who you are. We'll be following your career to its end, Jill. And that's
the threat.
That's the threat.
So, and keep all this in mind that statute says the substantial emotional distress, and that's the thing that Linus kept driving home, is that how does an email, how does that right there rise to the level of create a reasonable person saying that could cause substantial emotional distress?
No.
And that's one of the things that she was one of the 9 that she was alleging Michael. That email right there caused substantial emotional distress to her. It's like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Now, here's the other thing about this statute.
What a fucking joke.
The statute requires that each allegation of an incident has to stand alone and meet the standards on its own. And that is what creates the pattern. What they call the pattern. There's a course of conduct.
Yep.
So you, to develop an incident, it has to meet all its own individual criteria, and then it gets put over here. To establish a course of conduct, you have to have at least 2 incidents. Okay. So what happened? We've got the first 2 incidents. We've already gone through those. Those 2 are gone, and we're asking her, well, why didn't you file then? You know, you had 2. You thought you had 2. Why didn't you file then? Well, I was holding it back. I was building my case. I don't know. What was her excuse for? She didn't have one because she did not start filling this out after 2 incidences. What she did, and as Linus very accurately pointed out, what she did was she gathered up all the contacts that we had ever had, and just laid them all out as her pattern and course of conduct.
And the other thing that she did, the reason why she didn't file it right away, other than that she wasn't fucking scared and there was no reason to, is that
guys, hold on. This guy right here, Robert Desmond, somebody put him out. Somebody put him out.
Is that
now hold on. I want this motherfucker gone. Somebody tell me they got him gone. And the reason I'm kicking Robert Desmond out is that's the asshole that got a lot of this inflamed. He's the one that called down there and told Jill he wanted to drag her out and string her up by a tree. That is a true threat, and I'm not with that. Kick that motherfucker out. Somebody tell me they've got him kicked off the page.
It's funny that he censors the word shit on there, but he'll ratchet shit up. But
yeah, somebody make sure he gets out, because I want that guy gone. And here's the other thing. He's the one that made the true threat. And we asked Jill about this. Did she ever pursue anything against him? No.
Right. That's part of it as well.
No, but she's going to blame his conduct on me.
Yeah. And the what I was saying then is the other reason why she didn't end up filing the PFA after 2 is that she was taking a different route. She filed a motion in Robert Walker's trial to specifically seek some pretty significant relief against me and Michael for the same allegations of stalking and harassment. And she didn't get that ruling. And these were significant things. Like we would have to pay fines.
Yep.
We'd have to pay for her extra security. We wouldn't be allowed to fucking be in there as press.
I got that motion up here.
And she didn't get that approved. It got it didn't get I don't think it got denied, but it wasn't in effect.
But
because she couldn't get relief that way, so she filed the PFA, basically seeking similar, not without the fines, but seeking relief against Michael.
Right.
So that was her that was her next thing. It's kind of like with Trump, the way they were trying to get to him. They just kind of tried different ways, and so that's what she was doing here.
And what she did with this filing that she made in Robert's case is she tried to sanction us, saying that this online sources identify them. That's Kansas Freedom News. That's Dick Smith up in Jackson County that we talked to. And this reporter, Richard Smith, their documents, etc., and then talks about our July 9th visit. She tries to bring us into this criminal case, and she tries to get ex parte relief against us. And we're not even, she tries to claim first. She tries to claim jurisdiction over us. We're well outside her reach. But then on top of that, she tries to claim ex parte relief. And I'm going to just go on down to the bottom because we've showed this stuff before. But what she wanted was these things here. She wanted the cost of any change of venue to be assessed to the defendant and all this list of people. and she named us. And then she wanted a non-dissemination order. I don't give a damn. She needs to quit disseminating. There should not be any recording. We had no intent of trying to record inside the courtroom, and we were recording in the hallways, and that's what offended her. The defendant and any of the actors listed above, this is again, she's trying to claim ex parte relief from us, that they can't be on the property, no further dissemination of records. And let's go on down here. All delays of the trial should be attributed to the defendant, making him have to pay for any of that. And then H, the final one, the final straw, she wanted to levy a fine against all of us right there.
Yeah. So no due process for us. We judge, jury, and executioner. We don't even get to present our side of anything. She just wanted all that shit to fucking happen.
This is the insanity of this woman that we've been dealing with, and why we had to go down there and stomp her ass.
And all that motion there is based on a lie as well, because she's all trying to say that we disseminated medical records in there. We never had the medical records. We never disseminated them, but she lied and said that we did. She lied in court and said that we did. And so part of the motion there to get all that stuff was because of this made up infraction that we didn't even do. It's all a lie. I hope people are seeing a pattern that she's fucking a liar.
Well, we've seen the pattern in her other cases. And again, those of you out there that have the time, watch the 13th district. You got to pay attention to that feed, because she is literally screwing people over on the regular. But let's go back up here now. That was item 4. So item 4 is out the water. So she's lost her first 4 claims against me. So let's go to her first, number 5 here. This is an email from August 18th with threats. Now, she alleges there are threats. I do not think he understands that a county attorney has to talk to everyone, blah, 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 blah. Okay. She has a lot to do. Individuals keep trying to intervene and blah, 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 blah. So let's go down to this August 18th email. Just take a look. I talk about people reaching out to me about her behavior. I talk about a couple of attorneys that actually gave me some information about her and the way she acts, that work with her. I talked about recordings that have been given to me that were in closed rooms that she didn't know that were being recorded. I mean, this chick doesn't understand. I didn't have to stalk her.
And she's alleging threats.
Right.
She's alleging fucking threats.
Show me a threat in this email.
And again, all within the frame of it has to be substantial emotional distress.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so each one of these were laid bare. And just so people know how it went, then when the judge made his ruling, he went through each one of those. So like we're doing right now, he went through each one of them and said, I didn't find. And just one by one, like we're doing right now.
Nothing.
0 for 9.
All of them.
0 for
all
9.
of them.
We'll keep going, but that's how it went.
All of them.
She lost every single fucking one of them.
Even both number 5s.
Even both number 5s. And he didn't even bother to do the 6, the one she tried tacking on here.
Right. He didn't even mention it. It was just like whatever. But the second number 5 is she's alleging another email. And the rest of these are going to be emails, C, D, E, and F. So we're going to go down here and just look at them. But September 9th is number C. And this is the one that I sent back after the day that we were there trying to find out why we were being charged. When we got home, I had an email from Paul with some half-ass open record responses. So I responded. Now, Linus went through this. Now, number 1, you can see at the top that it's addressed to just about every county leader down there that I had an email address for. And specifically the attorneys who were evaluating this, again, CORA request. This is related to a Kansas Open Record Act request.
There were emails Michael sent that he included like state senators and representatives. And
it's actually this email, I think.
And Jill's like, her personally is being threatened by this. This isn't her private email. It's not just to her or anything like that. Look, it's like a group fucking message.
The threat for her was that bottom line down there where I say, and Jill, I really do have a lot of questions about your obsession with ducks. Now, here's my
so fucking funny.
What I don't understand about this woman. Okay, she hates me asking about the ducks, right? She doesn't want me asking anything about the ducks.
No, it's embarrassing.
Why the fuck she detailed the whole thing in the case?
I know, she let it fly.
I mean, there was no need. There was no reason to give me all that information.
Now we got it.
All she had to say was my ducks are private and I don't want to talk about it. And Judge, he shouldn't have to ask me. That would have been her case in point on that issue, basically.
Another example of her being a fucking moron.
But guys, this is why we had to give you the rest of the details on the duck story and actually confirm that those rumors were true, that police did actually respond to an elected official's house to seize a harbored duck. That she was harboring a stolen duck in her house.
Yep. And so Linus argues that that Michael is a reporter, and she's a
he didn't even need to argue.
She's a public figure. This is public. This is relevant to the public. A stolen. The sheriff shows up at the county attorney's house over some stolen property. That's not public interest right there. And let alone he's also reporting on it. So he's asking her legitimate questions about doing a story.
I'm asking about the duck because people are asking me about the duck. Hey, Mike, find out about this duck. We heard that there was this duck at her house that the police had to go get.
And she's trying to claim that this is off limit. This is personal stuff.
But if it's personal, why do you give me the whole story,
not
Jill?
just Michael, but it's a public hearing.
It's a public document now.
Yeah, it's all public. we would have been none the wiser.
God,
A guy like me, I didn't even know anything about it. Now it's like, okay, it's the ducks. So, shit.
Our Exhibit D again is the court request. The request. This is the one where I sent it to all of them, including the was it Blex and them? I think I CC'd them on one of these. But this is a core request. There's no way D can be used as an instance where I have no legitimate. And keep in mind, again, for this statute, you have to have bereft of legitimate purpose. There can be no legitimate purpose to what you're doing. The second thing that has to happen there is there's got to be the fear, or not the fear, but the substantial emotional distress. And how can you get substantial emotional distress out of a citizen doing a core request, folks?
Yeah,
that doesn't happen.
And so how are these other people addressed in that? How are they not also that significant distress as well?
How come she didn't file this on behalf of the entire leadership of Elk County?
Right. So she was trying to say that it's subjective. She was trying to say things like yelling was subjective, fucking this feeling subjective, but it's not. It's written as a reasonable person would do that, would feel that way. A reasonable person. It's not subjective. It's not, oh, I'm Jill and I'm scared. No, it's a reasonable person.
Now let's mind you that this reasonable person is taking 2 different medications for anxiety and is walking around with a loaded pistol with one in the chamber.
Right.
That's your county attorney down there in Elk County, folks.
And so that just goes to she can't reasonably sit there and say that she is terrified of this, because a reasonable person obviously wouldn't. I know we're kind of scrolling through here and we're not going to read every word, but I hope that this is enough to if you want to go back through and read, you will see that.
Well, this email right here,
just the fact that Michael's making this public, anybody could pause it and read it and see it all. There is nothing in these emails that rises to any kind of threat or anything that she was claiming.
Nothing. And this is the first email that I sent her, basically right after I had reviewed the Robert Walker case so far, and seen the way that Deputy Watts had literally attacked this man while he was handcuffed. I mean, she had to dismiss it this time if she wanted to save any kind of face. Now, I'll give you a quick update on that one. Robert Walker apparently was offered simple battery, just a single charge of simple battery and 6 months probation, when not less than 6 months ago, this dumb bitch wanted to put him in prison for 10 years. She was filing 2 felony battery LEOs. So no, this is how she plays that game. And she learned with Robert, when he stood up and started pushing back, she's learning that she's not going to be able to push him around.
Well, she has no skills as a lawyer.
None.
I've never seen her put forth a good argument.
None.
I don't even see her having a grasp understanding of like court process even. She seems to be someone that's used that title and just being in that specific area to either bully her way through things and not rely on any kind of skill set whatsoever, because I'm not joking. Well, it wasn't necessarily like just a train wreck. It was a train wreck, but she exposed herself as someone. I mean, Linus Baker is an outstanding attorney, and she was pitted against him, and she just exposed herself. The perfect contrast of what an actual attorney looks like and what Jill is night and day between her and what Linus was doing, and she was just. She had nothing. And obviously she had nothing with what she was bringing to the table, but even in terms of like when she would do cross-examination, her questions were so dang shallow, and they were so easy to fucking just respond to.
And something that I think anybody knows, and this is any attorney out there who's going to know this, when you're interviewing a witness on the stand, you never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. And she was doing that with both him and I.
Right. She was just kind of
dangerous,
flying by the seat of her pants. She was outmatched. She
was
outmatched.
Let's go ahead and put this one out. This is an interesting one. Let's talk about the C word. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it here to explain which one it was. She claimed that I was screaming and yelling at her, bitch and cunt. Okay. And she asked me that. And I said, no. And she says, you weren't saying that. And my attorney said, asked and answered. So when he cross-examined me, he asked me, he said, why wouldn't you say that word? And the reality is, and Justin knows this, my wife hates that word. It's just not a word I say because out of respect for my wife. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, we heard later that we think the judge actually put credit to the fact that I invoked my wife there. Yeah. that the fact that my wife would bust my ass over that's a pretty good reason for him not to be using that word. And
right. And
I think because of all the other lies that he'd already seen, I don't think he believed that I actually said that.
Well, and it's also something because we had the video there.
Right.
Nobody.
You were the one talking, and nobody was cussing.
Nobody said cunt at all. And the only time she was called a bitch was after she pulled that fucking door out of Michael's hand.
Yep, that one we just scrolled through was follow up on a core request.
I think I said she was a psycho bitch, but upon further review on that video, I said she's a psycho lady. I was saying she's a psycho lady. I didn't even call her a bitch. Like, nobody was calling her fucking names. And the other thing about these videos, I know we already looked at them, but he's showing all the footage there yesterday, and it shows us going like from spot to spot trying to track down these charges that have been filed against us. So we go to the county clerk's office, we go to the sheriff, we go to the commission, and we're nothing but nice and cordial and friendly with these people, even though they're giving us the fucking runaround.
Nothing.
It's July, it's hot as shit out. We had every reason to be fucking pissy, but we're nice. And meanwhile, Jill's drafting up these fucking charges saying that we're just like what posing a threat to her and people there. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, and honestly, whoever this prosecutor is that thinks they're gonna file a battery charge on me over that door, I mean, come on.
The judge already said, I've looked at this and there's nothing there. I didn't see anything get flung. I didn't see anybody lunge. I didn't see anything. We'd like to see a ruling say that Jill really didn't have any business to be closing that fucking door, and that prevented you from going past there, and therefore that should be a charge. But in terms of a charge against you, no, he didn't even make fucking contact.
Yeah,
didn't even make fucking contact.
The other thing that's worth pointing out about Jill Gillett down in Elk County is they just had an election down there, and this is a county attorney who got 54% of the overall vote. I posted something about this not too long ago. We took all the total vote for the president for all the different presidential candidates. And then Jill had 54% of those people that actually cast a vote, and she was running unopposed. So, I mean,
and then you look at other people that ran unopposed there, like Carrie Harrod, who we mentioned here. And we say, she's really professional at her job. She got it was like 80%, 90% of the people that voted for her as well.
Right.
Like you said, contrast that to both Jill Gillett and Walker down there. But it says a lot about her.
So let's talk about what happens next now. So I'll put it out there. Kansas core law and case law, which just happens to have our attorney's name on it, says that we get the recording from that court hearing. I actually pulled up that Linus's case about that and read into that. It's a case where it was personal to him and it happened at his home. But there was a PFA hearing that was had between one of his children and somebody else. And that thing was done quickly and got some bad decisions in it. He requested the audio of that hearing, and they fought him on it, and he sued. He sued the Johnson County Sheriff, Cal Hayden, over that, and went to the Supreme Court in Kansas, I think appellate court in Kansas, and then a Supreme Court ruling, I believe, that we are entitled to that recording. So we will have a recording of this entire hearing at some point here, hopefully soon. You guys down in Elk County, I'm telling you right now, it's useless to try to deny this because I've already sent the request. It's useless to try to deny it. All it's going to do is increase your expenses defending us.
Yep.
Because I'm going to come down there and I'm going to get that recording. and then we're going to share it to the world. Because here, the thing that frustrates me about the way this hearing went. Well, before I go to that, the other thing that's going to happen is because of these lies, and because of the way she conducted herself with this hearing, ODA complaint. I mean, we're going to have to attack her that way. I want to attack her license. She should not be an attorney lying like that.
Yeah, she lied on the stand.
She perjured herself
Multiple
repeatedly.
times. Multiple times in obvious ways, and to the point where, like we said earlier, she had to get back up there, call herself back up there, and be like, "Hey, you know what? I just kind of misremember. I ain't seen that video." She's like, "I didn't look at any of these videos before, so
she
this is all from memory
in my
4 months
mind
ago."
In my mind, I mean, it was him that was blocking my. And she literally says it like this: in my mind, in my memory, it was him that was blocking my car and looking inside. But Judge, I guess it must have been that truck.
Yeah, it turns out it was that big old truck driving by. It wasn't Michael after all. It was a truck. My bad.
Just wait. I'm going to love being able to share these recordings of the way she whined to the judge. And you need to hear this, Elk County, because you need a different attorney down there handling things. We've seen how she acts. And my God.
But just think about this. These things that she brought against Michael here, these are things that could ruin a person's life, have a significant, at the least, have a significant impact on his life.
100%.
Some people could ruin their fucking lives. And it is, oh, Judge, you know what? I misremembered. It wasn't a big old fucking truck, or it wasn't Michael. It was a big old fucking truck driving by after all. My bad.
But
my
think
bad.
about it.
It's a complete lie to try and ruin this guy's fucking life.
If I hadn't had that video, if we hadn't had all this video that proved the lie, the judge would have saw all this writing and thought, God, this guy is a freaking terrorist. We've got to keep him away from everybody.
He's screaming up the hallway, calling her a cunt and a bitch. And the reality is he didn't say a fucking word. Nobody called her a fucking cunt. But like Michael said, if that wasn't recorded, that would be the picture that was painted.
That's the narrative that they paint.
It's night and day. None of it was fucking true. None of it.
The frustrating
makes
part.
me wonder how many people she's done that to down there in Elk County and Greenwood County.
We've watched it. We watched it the other day.
I'm sure there's a lot of fucking people out there. She's
Robert Walker.
Oh yeah,
Robert Walker.
It's the biggest one right there right now.
Now the
fucking bullshit.
The other thing about this,
ruin somebody's life. Potential to do that. It hasn't ruined. Whatever.
Disappointing though. The judge in his final ruling, he did do Gillett favors that I don't think he should have. He said he cleaned up her lies basically, and I'm frustrated with that because he basically came out and said, well, of all the misremembering I've ever heard, I've heard worse than that.
I've heard worse. Yeah. It's like, what? That doesn't make it fucking right. That doesn't make it right.
And she went into great detail about my actions outside the car. And that's the real issue, because when you go into that much detail, that's not just misremembering.
No,
that's
intentional.
That's intentional.
Intentional lie. It's intentional lie.
Yep.
And then it also just goes back to her fucking stupidity. It's like, bitch, we have the fucking videos. How are you going to go forward with this outrageous lie of nothing could be further from the truth? And we have the fucking videos.
Well, and that's the problem.
What an idiot. What a fucking idiot. That's an attorney. She didn't stop to think. She maintains she didn't watch our shit. So, either way, either she didn't watch it, she's a fool for not watching it, or she watched it and still thought I'm a fucking lie. Either way, she's fucking stupid.
Yeah. Well, so, in my zealousness here to investigate her, I had never actually been out to her LinkedIn page before I went out there earlier and took a look at it. And it's pretty interesting what we see here. She got 22 years, something like that. Why can't I get this? I'm on the wrong one here. Let me go here. Here we go. Got it. So she's got attorney, former paralegal, and law clerk, Gillett Law. Now that she shows from December 22 to present, 22 years that she's been an attorney, former paralegal, and law clerk. I notice attorney is listed first there. So we come on down here. Now she's assistant county attorney in 2013.
I was always wondering where she went to school. I see that down there.
Yeah.
I always wondered that.
Yeah.
Okay, Washburn.
All
right.
But look here, she's a trial court clerk. Is she actually an attorney? I don't think so there. So where's all this? So she was just paralegal and law clerk and an attorney there with her husband is what that was.
Well, the dates are kind of fucked up because that says 22 continuous years, but she was an assistant county attorney there in Montgomery County.
Right. So what's going on here? Is she functioning in private practice as well as the county attorney? Can she do that? Somebody type in chat. Is she able to do that, guys? But you notice that she's down here, trial court clerk, all this experience that she has, guys. And look here, here's the truth. Look here. Here's the truth right here. 2011 to 2012, that's when she got her doctorate in law.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means we got to think by about 2013 or so, she might have been able to pass the bar after a third or fourth try.
Yeah. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 2013, she became an attorney, but look up here how she lists this. She got December 2002 forward.
Yeah. Well,
attorney.
She was a paralegal.
Former paralegal and law clerk.
Yeah.
You know, Gillett, come on, you dumb bitch. How about you split that shit out and let's be honest with the people instead of forming a narrative?
Yeah.
I'm a little embarrassed with this one. She was actually up here in Lawrence between 2008 and 10. That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
English, she claims.
Washburn's where I got my.
Yeah.
I used to fucking work there.
Apparently, she does sign language. And
she does sign language.
Yeah, that's an old
Does she got
picture.
her duck stuff on there or no?
I don't see any ducks here.
No duck.
I don't see any ducks here at all.
She wrote that shit up like some kind of like poultry fucking life. Like we were like taking a swipe at a lifestyle that it's like it's a duck world.
Well, I mean, unless you're in it, how could you ever understand it? I mean, it's the poultry thing.
Yeah.
But this is what they do, guys. They trash you. They bring in a false narrative and they try to take you down with lies. Mm-hmm. And this is why we say run the camera. And one of her biggest things all the time. Well, Judge, they're always live streaming. I don't like that. They need to stop that in the judicial areas. And it's like, Jill, now do you see why we live stream?
Yeah. And she's trying to discredit Michael and me as well as not being legitimate reporters, not on the same level as what she would classify like legitimate reporter. And it's funny. She was said, well, Michael, he doesn't have credentials from the Kansas Press Association. And the judge stops her and says, does he need one? She said, no. It's like, okay, what the fuck was the point of that shit? Yeah, he doesn't need one. Yeah. Great. That's just an example of it. She got nothing after that.
No,
because it's just shown that he doesn't need that shit to be a reporter. That's in the First Amendment.
Right.
So we knew going into it, we had the law and we had the Constitution on our side.
Yep.
It's clear as fucking day.
Now you want to talk about stalking? Here's the good part. She asked Justin how many criminal convictions he'd had. And so he talked about some of the shit that got going during COVID and stuff. And then at the end of that, because, guys, we got a criminal here. He protested COVID and they jailed him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at the end of that question, when Justin says that, she goes, well, you didn't think I looked into you, did you?
I was like, I don't fucking know. It really never crossed my mind, but yeah, you're kind of fucking weirdo.
Spooking me out right now. You're the one digging into people, accusing
Michael
us
actually
of stalking.
said that on her. He's like, up on the stand. He's like, now I'm starting to be concerned that you're digging into me and stalking me. I mean, she was pulling up all kinds of shit, which is fine.
My God.
Which is fine. Fuck her. That's all she fucking was
Guy,
trying to do.
I can't say it enough times. If you can watch that 13th district, watch that 13th judicial district, and just pay attention to Jill Gillett. She's really the one you got to pay attention to. Paul, what's his, Jared Ruggiero, I think is the other guy. He seems like a schoolboy kind of thing that kind of sticks to the roles, but Jill really does work with emotion. Man, one other thing, and this one really torqued me because in Robert Walker's hearing, if you guys remember, there was a point in there where points were being made and Robert was shaking his head and doing this. The judge stopped the hearing and ripped into Robert over it, and man, if I was him, I would have been worried that I'd already ruined myself with the judge, the way the judge laid into him over it, But at this hearing yesterday, when a ruling would go, an overturn or a sustain would go in her favor.
Yeah.
She'd be
shaking her fucking head. She hardly could sit still.
And
nothing was said.
Nothing was said.
Not a single fucking thing.
And I have to think that if well, I mean, of course, he's watching the Zoom screen. He's probably able to see Robert a little clearer there because it's all right there. But you would think
it's all right in front and center.
You would think that somebody would see Jill Gillette, her bubbly, jelly body bouncing because she's laughing so damn hard about something that she thinks she won. Now, mind that she did that several times through this, like she was winning something,
Did she really?
and then got smacked.
Yeah,
every single one.
Yeah, every single one of them. Man, there was one point in there I want to mention as well that I was I was out in the hallway all day, yes, both days, but I was the only one out there because all her witnesses went first. And so it was just me at the end there, just me out there. And she stopped right before I went to get up on the stand. She stopped and told the judge that I was standing out in the hallway recording. She said, the courtroom. There's windows and there's a window on each of the doors.
She said, Your Honor, I hate to interrupt, but I think just Dr. Spees or Mr. Spees is out here recording through the window. And I looked and I could see Justin's face. I saw no damn camera.
No, I was just standing there. I wasn't recording anything. I didn't record anything.
Lies.
Yeah, lies. She lied. And it was right before I was getting ready to be called up there. And so they had to stop and send Deputy Love out there to say the judge wants to know if you're out here recording. I'm like, no. And he's like, all right. And so then when I go up there, the first thing the judge asks me on the stand is if I was standing out there recording. And he also asked me if I was standing outside the door. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He immediately is like, don't be cute about it. I'm like, What do you mean? I'm on the fucking stand. You're trying to ask me questions that you're going to try and fucking get me with later. Yeah, I want to know what exactly you mean. I'm not being cute. I'm standing outside the fucking door. I mean, what do you want? What am I supposed to do?
She poisoned the judge. She tried to poison the judge.
Yeah, you said be out of the courtroom. I was out of the courtroom. What the fuck?
That's her tact, though. What she does is she uses little things like that to try to poison the judge, to set the tone for the hearing, and to set the tone against that person that she wants that $40,000 bond on, or that she wants that PFA on, or that she wants to put in jail. And the guys, the way they make money off 400 down there, man, they pull over people right and left, and they get them hemmed up on bullshit charges. And Christ, they're stuck in the system forever.
Yeah, I know. And so it's fucked up, man, that had to happen that way, because it just kind of gets off on the wrong foot. He's thinking that I'm up to no good by saying, oh, what do you mean by standing outside the door? I mean, I want to know these things, and it's like you get off on the wrong foot already. But whatever, whatever. There was one question in there that that was for you. It said, it was from AB. He said,
how did she defend the alleged sexual components? She didn't even bring those up. And actually, when the judge was making his ruling, he like right at the very beginning said the sexual components and the human trafficking have nothing to do here. So we'll just mark those off. We're looking at only the stalking portion. And so there was nothing there to look at. Yeah. Any other, go ahead, guys. Let's open it up to a few questions while we're finishing up here. We've got a few more things to go over, but not too much more. Shaking and talking. Yep. But
one of the other things that Linus was making in his argument is that, because of the way the statute is with the legitimate purpose and constitutionally protected for public business, is that these cases are rare. What he meant by that is there's been one case that the district court ruled in favor of the public petitioner, but it was reversed on appeal. So there was no fucking, there's no precedent for this. This is clearly established. The Kansas legislature, I felt when I first read that, I was like, it seems like they went out of their way to make sure to include constitutionally protected activities. So there was no way that this could go forward. It would change things. It would make it so that reporters couldn't go up and fucking ask a question and get a no comment response. You got to be done. And if you don't, boom, PFA. Right. And then the government could effectively just shut all press down, or the ones that they don't like, by doing this stuff. It was an impossible lift with the lack of evidence that she had.
Yep. Somebody asked how much I spent. Guys, I don't ask you for money. It's none of your damn business. So, L.A. Arlie Spradling, that's the ODA complaint to use as a template. Yeah, you're right. And actually, going back to the ODA complaint, I'm going to pin that one real quick. Going back to the ODA complaint, We already have one. There's already been one submitted on Jill based on that July 10th filing, where she accused us of interfering and being stalkers basically in the Robert Walker motion and wanted us to pay all those sanctions. Now that ODA complaint, as I've said before, we submitted it and it's been basically pushed back and said, well, we're not going to accept this because it's still an active case. The problem she has with the next ODA complaint is this case is done, and perjury's a bitch.
Right.
I don't know how I don't know, the judge may be able to clean that up, but I don't know how the Kansas Ethics Board is going to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, straight up fucking lying on under oath.
LA, can you get a copy of your court case to send to the bar? Did the judge do? Oh no, I think the judge was fair. I mean, as far as the ruling, yeah, I think it was fair. I wish he hadn't cleaned up the lies that she told as much as he did by saying that he'd heard worse exaggerations or worse misremembering. It was outright lies. Did you get it dismissed without prejudice? No, I don't know whether we had it with or without prejudice, but she ain't gonna bring this shit again, man. Come on.
No,
she ain't gonna bring this shit again.
This was embarrassing. It was so poorly argued, so flimsy of a case because there was nothing there. It was embarrassing. There's no way.
Yep.
I mean, just think about that. I mean, it's not like she had one of the 9 and she didn't get that second one. She didn't get a single one of them, a single one of those 9. She'd have to go back and maybe more evidence, but there's nothing.
There's nothing. Well, she now that she has all the recordings, she can see that there's nothing there to file.
Nothing.
So she's going to have to try to gather something new if she's going to want to do something. And there's not going to be anything new for her.
No.
And I told her we're not done down there. And so, yeah, we'll be back down there, but she's still not going to get anything actionable under any kind of stalking, protection orders, none of that. It's not going to happen again. This was embarrassing enough for her, guys, that she won't do this again.
Well, that's what I was telling Michael. I hope that Jill has enough self-awareness that she is embarrassed by that and thinks like, oh man, I exposed myself in front of this judge, in front of these people here. They're all going to be talking.
Right.
They're going to know how fucking lousy of an attorney I am now, from not knowing court procedure to not being able to fucking put together any kind of arguments at all. Top to bottom, she was just an utter failure. And I just hope that she has enough self-awareness that she thinks twice when she like passes these judges in the hall and goes, man, this guy thinks I'm a fucking idiot, doesn't he?
That's the thing. These judges talk, and Lee's going to talk to these other judges, and they're going to talk about this hearing because it's unique. Like, what county prosecutor tries to bring a protection order against somebody asking questions against somebody who she has identified as media in her own petition, guys? She identifies me as media
in the motion in Robert's case,
and then says I can't ask her questions. When she says no comment, that means you're done.
It was that bad. It was a dumpster fire.
I'm not kidding, guys. When you hear the recording, it was exactly like we're describing it. She literally thought that when she told media that she had no comment, that they could not ask any more questions. That was it.
And that if they persisted, they would cause a substantial emotional distress. To her.
Yep.
While she's packing a gun, while she's the chief law enforcement officer. Keep in mind that one incident, the first one, that right outside the elevator, Joe Love is standing between us and her. And she's trying to claim emotional distress on her.
Well, and actually, she tried to say that I was closer, and Justin was like, well, no, actually, I was closer. Michael was over here, and I was right here.
Yeah, it's another liar. It's like, oh, he was
another lie.
No.
I mean, we could probably go back when we get these recordings and listen to the hearing, and probably find more lies.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. God.
Definitely.
I'm having trouble seeing the screen down here. What we got? There's Janet. Hi, Janet. There was no dismissal. This was a hearing in civil court, not a criminal court. The hearing was done and it's over, except for what can happen to her later. And that's a good way to put that. That there can be sanctions against. I'll put that up here. There's sanctions coming. The ODA complaints. Hopefully there'll be sanctions there for the perjury. And then, this was malicious.
Well, I was just going to say that somebody put in there, Jill ain't paying the bill, and that's exactly right. It is malicious. So think about this. So we've already just laid out there that everything that she did was a lie and a fabrication. But Michael's in the hole, paying for an
But-
attorney.
and here's
Time
why.
spent. We had to go down there Monday. It was some conflict scheduling stuff. We had to go back fucking Wednesday.
Now, not only
Bill
that,
tried to pull the conflict shit on Wednesday.
she snowballed on Monday because she had a conflict on Wednesday at 2 p.m. and they were talking schedule on Monday, and she never brought that up.
No.
And that's why we were there
Wednesday
until
morning.
7:30 last night waiting for a ruling, is because she had this 2 p.m. conflict that she didn't tell
She
anybody
didn't
about.
tell anybody about until at the hearing on Wednesday.
Right.
We're like, what the fuck? We just drove here. We're 2.5 hours away from Elk County, so that's twice in 1 week. That's 5 hours of road trip
Right.
time. Paying an attorney,
Mhm.
and it's all these are basically all day fucking hearings
For bullshit.
and on top of it, it's all for bullshit.
Now, here's the
It's
kicker, guys.
all fucking lie.
Yep.
All of it.
In their infinite wisdom, the legislature has written the PFA and protection order statutes down here in a manner to not discourage victims from filing a PFA. So what that means is that the person who's supposedly the victim, when they go in and file the PFA, if that is not upheld and they don't get the order, the defendant, the respondent is who they're called. The respondent is not allowed to go back at them for financial damages and for attorney's fees, things like that. The petitioner, on the other hand, if that person gets the PFA ordered, like if Jill would have got this PFA through, she could have made me pay her supposed attorney fees. She could have made me pay for her security. She could have made me pay for the added security at the courthouse, probably in some roundabout way. I mean, this is the reality of the way that statute is written. So in order to get to a level where I'm going to be able to see any kind of recovery from this, we'd have to prove that this was strictly malicious and then she did it as a state actor. Now, here's a couple things that happened in the hearing. Number one, she didn't take a day off. November 1st was a Friday. That's when she submitted this. She didn't take a day off, and she submitted this at work. And she submitted it on a county computer owned by Greenwood County that she has possession of as the district attorney of Greenwood County. She submitted this using her own bar number. What else did we find out?
She's supposed to be pro se.
What else did we find out about her mixture between official and non-official? Thought there was one more thing, but the other thing in here, and Janet Harrington mentioned this on Facebook, an attorney who has themselves as a client has a fool for an attorney. Or I don't know if that's how that worded, but this woman thought she was going to do this pro se, and horrible. And there's a reason. Everything that she was doing was attached to her. Linus was able to aggressively question her, and it didn't get attached to me. That was him doing that. And her buffoonery up there, Christ, like we said at the beginning of the last video that I put out about her, she'd have been a lot better off hiring some legal counsel rather than extra security.
Right. Yes. Put her money in the wrong place. First of all, there was no threat to even do that. And second of all, it would have benefited her to have a lawyer.
Right.
What a fucking idiot. Another example.
And I assure you, Elk County taxpayers are going to pick up that bill. She's not going to pay that herself.
No.
And what we need to do, though, now, Elk County taxpayers, think of this. What y'all need to be doing is going into that commission meeting and saying, hey, no, we don't want to pay for this shit. She did this on her own. See if the county will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Make her pay her own way. Make her pay for Clinton since she made up all these lies.
Like Michael had to pay to go defend himself for some completely innocent man right here, complete bullshit charges, and he's out of pocket for this shit.
Now, the two county commissions down there could do that. Greenwood County and Elk County, you could do exactly what I'm talking about and refuse to cover these charges for Jill. I mean, it's that simple. You guys hold the purse. This county money she spent, and recklessly. And the worst part is she not only got you in for this money so far, there's more money coming out of your pockets because of her actions and because of the way she's prosecuted people. I've said it before. If I can't take their licenses, I'll fucking connect people to a civil attorney and let them sue their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than one way to skin a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Any other questions down there, Doc? Did you see?
Let's see here. I thought I saw.
Guys, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I saw a lot of names in here, and Ocean over. This is public service. I appreciate your assistance and knowledge on this stuff. And I didn't see Lane Myers in here, but I want to give a shout out to him because he was kind of in a sane battle as what I'm in, a little bit different, but he represented himself, and that judge didn't like him at all. And when I saw that, and especially seeing that case happen right before mine, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to risk, because we couldn't get moved out of the 13th district. And I honestly believe if I would have walked in there today as a pro se attorney, or walked in there this week as a pro se attorney and tried to argue this case, regardless of her lies, I probably would have ended up with a protection order.
Yeah,
I'm not an attorney, guys, and
he's not an attorney, and plus, I'm telling you, man, Linus Baker yesterday, man, it was like something out of a fucking movie, man.
Beautiful.
His questioning and his closing.
You think the Top Gun thing? You want answers? I want the truth.
A few good men.
A few good men. Yeah. You think that's good? Linus was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it was great. And we're going to be able to let you guys hear it once we get those recordings. And you are really going to enjoy this back and forth that they had, because he wasn't taking any shit off of her. Mm-hmm. And she learned that right up front.
Oh, yeah. It's probably the first time she ever had any kind of pushback.
Exactly.
She's not someone that can think on her feet, which is, remarkable for being an attorney. And so she was just outmatched and outweighted by Linus, and he's just so much dang smarter than her. She's not even close.
They're not used to having a legal argument. They're used to going in there and spinning their narrative without all the video that we had. Guys, Robert Walker's got a body cam he wears around now. Anybody down there that you're having an issue, Robert, you need to tell people down there where you got that body cam and where to go get their own. John Dupree, you need to have one. Nicole, everybody down there needs to have a body cam so they can catch this stuff. That way they try something, boom, you got it.
It's always like, I know people think, it's not nothing will happen. But that's the thing. It's like, you just never fucking know, man. You just never fucking know. And the time that you're not recording is when you're going to be like, damn, I wish I was fucking recording.
Wait, how does Dr. Spees know what? Potion, how does Dr. Spees know what? I didn't catch that one.
Me neither.
Huh.
Let's see what he says.
He knows some things.
Every now and then. I tell you what I did know. I knew as soon as that stalking thing, that PFA came in, I was like, there's no fucking way. That's why I was asking her about stalking, walking up the hall, the stairs, because I knew it was ridiculous for even threaten stalking against.
And this is really a blow up in your face kind of thing. I mean, truly a fuck around and find out moment. She filed this and exposed herself. I mean, literally the weight that's coming at her right now as a result of her lies and things like that. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fallout from it is not going to be worth it for her to even wanted to pursue something like this, especially knowing that she had no fucking case.
Yep. And I know a good portion of you guys in here watching tonight are from Elk County. You guys need to get involved, and this is how you do it. Hi, Alvin. I see you tuning in there, guys. This fella here he's got a situation going, and Alvin had a problem with a police officer in Fredonia.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, the cop either quit or lost his job or something over it. And he comes over to Alvin the other day and beats the holy crap out of him, like muscles up his face and everything. And he came over to watch the court hearing, and he's still all busted up and everything. And this is how the cops behave, man. James Freeman has that screensaver, man. Life's like a box of chocolates. Or cops are like a box of chocolate. They'll kill your dog,
Yeah.
But
yeah, so that's another guy down there.
All right, guys. Any other questions? Back to Blue. Who the fuck is this? Oh, Potion, who's hacked your account, man? All right, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in. And again, any of you guys that can keep an eye on that 13th district, Meg's Crime Watch and the old Squishy Gardner record, but it seems like they're the lickers, because they're not really they're talking trash on defendants that are getting railroaded. And I'm not saying that every defendant down there deserves to get off, because there's some criminals that probably need to go to jail, but not for the kind of shit that Jill's pulling. Couple notes. I wanted to tell John Dupuy, yes, I got your email. We're gonna get that moving. And Quentin Hansen has been watching this whole time, I hear. Awesome. And hey, we got both Quentin Hansens here tonight.
Oh, yeah, we got both of them here.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I just remembered that the deputy, remember what she said, you heard her say it about, where do you find this guy?
Oh, yeah. Last thing. So as we're leaving the courthouse, there's this young new deputy down there in Elk County. I can't remember her name, dark hair. But as I'm walking out of the courthouse, we're talking a little bit, just a little bit as I'm walking through the door, getting ready to walk through the door. And she leans in, she goes, "Where'd you find him?" Referring to Linus.
The attorney. He impressed the deputies down there.
They don't get to see a good attorney down there very often. And somebody asked earlier, can you recruit somebody to run against her? Well, I mean, good luck. Look at the economic status of what's going on down there. I mean, jobs are low. And like we talked earlier, pulling into there when we were talking about those big painted lady houses that are down there, I remember from back in my day, you can pick those up for dollars, cents on the dollar compared to what we pay houses. We pay $200,000-300,000 up here in Lawrence. Down there, they'll pick up the same thing for 50, 60, 70 at the most.
Yeah, it's the middle of Kansas.
So it's depressed economically. And honestly, I think the only reason Jill is a county attorney is because it's a guaranteed paycheck. Because the way she argues and the way
she couldn't be on her own.
There's no way she wouldn't have a clientele.
If she was my criminal defense attorney, I'd be, oh my God, I'm fucked. This lady cannot fucking argue anything. She can't even think. She can't even think in the moment. I'd be screwed.
Not at all.
It was beautiful to see her go down.
Beautiful. And when you watch a good attorney work, and that's the other thing. I couldn't afford a precedent, especially after Lane, but I enjoyed that show. And I'll tell you what, I got my money's worth. For damn sure. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Again, I got to say it one more time. Watch that 13th district. If you can get in there in that feed during the daytime and catch them doing some bullshit, send me some videos of it. If you catch her doing bullshit, send it. Jason Zwack watches and sends me stuff occasionally. We got to have people keeping an eye on her so that we can keep her on her toes. Anything else you want to say?
Nope, that's it. Appreciate everybody watching.
All right. Y'all have a great night. This is Lawrence Accountability Live. We're checking out.
Say whatever you want and then face some sort of repercussions for it later.
Hey, fun, son. Nothing else in the world smells like that.
Kansas has possibly the weakest open records law in the country.
Retaliatory animus, had it not been for that negative feeling towards speech, they would have not done that.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
Wishing you could see things was my way. When it all gets ripped away. I know the smell of napalm in the morning. I can't hide.